Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. We have a very special guest today. We have Khalid Al Jaber. There's going to be a lot of people, I know already, there's going to be a lot of people that already know you and they're all shouting out, yeah, I know him, I know him. I didn't know you until I started watching your material.
Whoa.
And then I was just blown away. And I was so lucky we are so lucky to have you on the show today.
It's a pleasure.
So please, can you just introduce yourself and just tell your story to a certain stage and then...
Well, if I'm going to talk, you have to shut me up for some time.
This is great. I love it already.
All right. Well, I'm a computer engineer, an ex-officer. However, I'm a motorcycle traveler, which matters now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been traveling all around the world since around 5-6 years on a motorcycle, and I started traveling by car since I was 19. So right now I've been to 82 countries around the world, and I'm planning by 2020 to reach 100 countries. My background. I'm a son of a diplomat who's been living all around the world since childhood. That's why I'm never homesick.
Yep.
And let's say I've been looking for home with all my travels. And as long as I'm on a bike, I'm feeling better. Or as long as I'm on the travel, I'm feeling great. That's why I considered motorcycling or adventure motorcycling as my career now.
The story is, and it's great that we found out today. And there's a reason why I found out. I knew that you had military background, but I'll explain a little bit more as we go along. But you kind of you started you're an academic. You've got all your in cybersecurity.
That's right. Yeah.
So you've gone into this. So at the beginning, this is what you decided to do as your career.
Well, let's say I haven't decided. It wasn't my choice. I was put into that choice.
Okay.
And I never loved being an engineer or a cybersecurity specialist or whatever. But, back then when we finished high school in Qatar, we were granted scholarships.
Okay.
And here in the ministry, they give you limited offers, limited options. The government needs IT engineers. We need 300 IT engineers. You either go for IT engineering or you just stay home. To me, it's an opportunity to study engineering abroad. That's why I decided to do IT, which I never loved. But then when I graduated, I've been getting lots of offers only for IT. And I studied IT. I worked as an IT specialist for 15 years in the special force until I realized that it's time for me to follow my dreams, to look for myself.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, I started a film company, and it was doing great, which is still doing great. However, it's not me yet. I haven't found myself yet. Until I decided to get my bike and jump on my bike and ride around. When I started, the first challenging trip which I started was in 2015. I rode to Saudi Arabia, to the Saudi desert, in the middle of July summer.
No.
Temperature was, well, on my dash, it shows 58 on my motorcycle, and my full gear, full helmet, gloves. And I think, my brother is a doctor. He was telling me, you're crazy. You're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Because you will never notice, all out of sudden, you'll just pass away.
Yeah.
Without any symptom. Anyway, so I did that I took it as a endurance. I was checking my endurance, whether I can do it or not. And a month later, I decided to ride through the Indian Himalayas, which was another challenge. And then I started going and on until I reached these countries. The record I did.
With all of this, who has been your biggest influence? And we're going to talk about exactly the tasks that you've done, the journeys that you've done, which are incredible, by the way. But what was it? Who you talk about? I saw your video, and you talk about your father, and he's telling you to reach.
My grandfather.
Your grandfather, sorry.
Well, he's my biggest influencer. He's my role model because when I was a kid, I don't want to ruin my film. Maybe many of the people who are watching now, they haven't watched my film, but I'll have to say this story. When I was a kid, I was never into studying because I thought I'm smarter than schools. So my grandfather, he was telling me, you should chase your dreams, even if they are in Arabic, we would call it thuraya, which is a patch of stars.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand what he meant by thuraya, because we also call chandelier in Arabic thuraya.
Okay.
So I thought he's like, wow, that's really low for a dream. So I didn't pay attention until 2015 when I decided to do India. I remembered his word. It's like a wake up call, because I was almost hesitating to go to India.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I remembered what he said. And yeah, thuraya, what he meant by thuraya. So I started Googling it, and I realized that he meant the stars.
Yeah.
But it was a deep, complicated Arabic word that we, as kids, we never knew about it.
But this was so powerful, even at that age, and it's a powerful story that you're telling everybody now, because this is what everybody should do: go for their dreams, reach for the stars.
That's right. Yeah,
just do it.
Many people here. Many people in Qatar, let's say, they wouldn't leave the comfort zone because they feel insecure, and many people who are doing business here, they do business while they have their government job, which is not helping their business, and they're not giving them full concentration on their job.
Yeah.
And the reason why they don't want to leave the comfort zone. For my story, I left my job, I left my kids, I left everything. I wanted to be out of the comfort zone because I wanted to feel the joy of coming back to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 So that's why I decided to get into that struggle, being on a bike, jobless, no salary, away from my kids, away from my home, getting all the blames from my parents. Because, if all that pressure, you would have to do something. You have to prove yourself. You have to face death. You have to face, I've been through a lot of, scary moments. I had a gun at my head. I almost got kidnapped by organ traffickers. I wanted to do it. I was fighting for it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So come on then. Let's go into this. So you decided to get a bike.
Yes.
Which is a huge bike.
It is a huge bike.
But when you done when you went to when you went to India, it wasn't that big a bike, right? It was.
No, in India, because it's 3 weeks trip, so I rented a bike, which is a more challenging thing for me, because the bike was very old, rusty bike, Indian bike, not BMW technology,
Yep.
ABS, cruise control. It didn't have any of that. It didn't have any navigation. Although I don't use, or I don't rely on the sat nav.
Okay.
I use maps to give more challenge, but still I was riding a very old rusty motorcycle in India.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the first real challenge for me, because riding through mud, sands, mountains, reaching high altitudes, to me it was a new experience, and it was a training to go for the next bigger challenge.
But you with the bike, it was, you were going up in the mountains, and there was some of the pictures that you were showing was. The edge was right there.
Yes.
It was, and there was nothing.
You don't want to look down, because the moment you look down, you'll get dizzy, and sometimes you lose control.
But the weather as well. You were in different types of weathers, and it was
The weather in the lowest temperature I did ride in was -15 in Tibet, and I was crying of the pain. You can't imagine how painful it was. I was taking off my gloves and touching my cylinder just to get some heat.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really crazy, snowing, muddy. Imagine you ride on a muddy road, snowy and freezing. Black ice, snow, mud, and twisty road. If you want to call it road, it's not. It's just a patch that made by trucks, and I was just following.
Dear me. So you done the Indian trip, then you looked at it and you went, I want more.
Yes. So I was never satisfied.
Never. So what was your next trip?
So right after India I still remember I was in Singapore with my kids, my wife and kids, and I was just Googling the Silk Road, because I've been hearing about Silk Road since I was a kid. And I was just Googling Silk Road motorcycle. And the first hit was ride from London to Beijing with Globebusters, blah, 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 blah. was, wow, I immediately hit that link, and then I Googled the owner of the company, who was two Guinness record holder. I said I would email him, but he would never reply to my email. He's a famous guy on Wikipedia. And within a couple of hours, he got back to me. He said, yeah, well, this trip's scheduled to be London to Beijing. If you are interested, please send me your bio. I need to know more about you, because I'm not going to risk taking someone who doesn't have an experience, because it's a technical ride. And to be honest, I wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I didn't have that experience. So what I did, I registered for that trip, and I immediately registered for an advanced off-road course.
Okay.
Just to be fit for that trip. And, I was featuring my trip on Al Jazeera, and I had lots of charity organizations, lots of people following me. So for some reason, I had some kind of an ego starting the Silk Road. And I was going toward the start point with my bike full of stuff. Everything was brand new, lots of stuff. And the taxi was following me with more stuff. And I was approaching the gate. And the moment I was about to get in, I dropped the bike in front of Kevin, which that moment broke my ego.
Yeah.
Because it made me realize that if you continue riding with this ego, you would crash or die, or both.
That's just scary.
So I started realizing, whoa. Okay, you should know your ability, you should know yourself. And out of everyone who was there, Kevin, the guy who would decide whether I should do it or not, he was the one who picked me up, which was more embarrassing. So that gave me a push to continue to fight for this trip, to make sure I don't get injured, I don't crash, and I reach Beijing celebrating that I've done the Silk Road.
I found the video amazing.
Yeah.
I was just in awe with it. I was trying to put myself in the position of being on that bike. The bike was huge. It is I huge. Saw at one stage in the movie, you were struggling because you couldn't get it back. You'd been out on the road, and the bike was taking you, and you were trying to push it back up on a small little thing.
Yeah,
but it was.
Imagine putting it on a center stand. It needs lots of effort and struggle. And that day, it was a very long day. And during that film, I was working as a rider and as a producer. So I was riding, checking my maps, making sure that the DOP had his lunch, the director found a room to stay, we're behind the schedule or not, we have arranged the meals. I was doing both jobs, and I was going crazy. We didn't find a hotel, so I ended up lying next to my bike. And it was really a very hard day. That's why I couldn't even lift my bike.
And I saw you struggling with your lock on your bike too. You had to lock it up.
Yeah, because I was in a city somewhere in Europe, which was known that they had the highest bike theft. So I had to get my bicycle lock, and I locked my wheel, and next day I couldn't even unlock because it was a bit tight, so I had to cut it next day.
Dear me.
Yeah.
And so when you're going through, because you're going from London, and we just said it in a sentence. You said it in a sentence. Yeah, I went from London to Beijing. Mm-hmm. But there was some scary moments. It looked like there were scary moments. But it's a lonely thing as well, right? It's kind of, so you've got to go travel and you're on your own.
Well, being on a motorcycle, whether you're riding with your own or someone with you, we wouldn't be having a conversation. That's one thing. Another thing, myself, I believe that being on the bike, I'm meditating.
Yeah,
I'm concentrating. Sometimes I don't realize that I've been riding for 14 hours because there are lots of concentration being on the bike. Many people, they misjudge the rider because they think the motorcycle rider is the same as a car driver, which is not true, because we use our body balance, we use our concentration, we use both hands, both feet to drive. Yeah, we never have any. I mean, the moment I park when I stop the bike and on a traffic light, this is the time when I'm resting. So there are lots of struggle. They need lots of stamina and fitness level to be on an adventure motorcycle.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the classic or cruiser bike. That's fun.
Yeah.
But being on an adventure motorcycle, riding through mud, sandy patches, crossing rivers, it's not an easy thing. You
One
need
slip, one split second.
You need to know when to decide. You have to be a good decision maker. You shouldn't hesitate. The moment you hesitate, you will be crashing immediately. 60% or even more than 60% of the motorcycle crashes are people hesitating.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can tell this because I've been through a lot. I've done 120,000 kilometers in the last 3 years. So I've been a lot. I mean, the experience with motorcycle is not about the years, about the miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let me try and highlight some of the areas that you traveled through. What on the Silk Road? What were the best countries, and what were the memories that just?
Well, the best country that I really loved in Silk Road, I mean, every country is beautiful in a way or another, but the best that I really loved was Tajikistan. Tajikistan, people were simple. They had nothing at all.
Right.
They had nothing, no technology, no electricity, nothing, but they have something that we all don't have. They have the happiness. They were extremely happy to see a rider approaching their villages. The kids were running toward us, and they can accept anything. And I still remember a moment that I didn't have anything to give away to kids. I had my pen, and I really needed it because by each border we have to fill up lots of form.
Yeah.
So I had to give the little girl, the cap of the pen. And you can't imagine how happy she was. And I think she will remember this for the rest of her life.
And that's life-changing for us all, right?
And
Those
you see how
type of
silly
moments.
the world is when I come back here. People are getting depressed because he didn't get the car he ordered, the same color he wanted. A lady, she didn't get her purse on time. While there, they could be, I mean, you could make their day for just shaking hand with a kid while riding.
I've said in so many different podcasts that people don't realize the power of a handshake.
Yes, of course.
The smile, the hug, it's transforming.
Yeah, I still remember a moment in South Africa. A receptionist there was a guest before me who lost his key, and he was shouting and that's not acceptable. And then I'm sure she was smiling, and that's her job, to be always smiling to customers. And then when my turn came, I was like, "Wow, I like your hair." And she said, "You know that I was thinking to leave, to be honest. I was thinking to take a short leave and go home because of the bad day I had, but you made up my day."
Yeah.
Thanks for the compliment. He said, "No, really, I like your hair.
And
Really nice."
I like you even more because this is the amount of times that sometimes we haven't got financials to give people.
Yeah.
But it's not the financial. When we were in the forces, you didn't worry about your wages. It was they used so many more motivating factors
That's right.
that would get you to be more motivated with doing whatever you were doing.
That's right. Yeah.
That's where we miss it today. It's all revolving around finances and what I've got and what car I've got. And you
forget the humanity. You forget to smile. Lots of things.
And people, I can hear people out there already saying, yeah, it's true, right? This is so powerful. And the great thing I like about what we spoke briefly beforehand is it's bringing people together.
That's right.
And that's the biggest, powerfulest thing ever. It's like shaking hands and getting to know those people and understanding what lifestyle. So this is, I wanted, again, watching your video last night, I wanted to be on that bike. I didn't want to tell them about the, when you're going up in the mountains and you've got this huge bike.
Yes.
And it's just, if there was a little giveaway of you're gone.
Yeah, that was a tricky road. I was riding with a German rider, and it was a female. And to me, riding behind that lady, I was feeling safe because I was considering that she got the experience. Whatever she does, I'll be fine because she was 65 or 60. And then she stopped, and she stopped me. She was like, she told me, for the first time, I'm scared. I have to admit that I'm scared. So please ride behind me, and whatever you see, if you see anything dangerous, just let me know. I said, how would I let you know you'll be in front? He said, no, just watch me, watch out for me. And because I need to know what happened if I crash. Someone needs to know what happened.
Yeah.
I want a witness to see it. And then that got me really nervous because, wow, I was feeling safe with this lady, and she's scared, and she wants me to make her feel safe. But we did ride and through that muddy, frozen patch, and I almost slipped down off the edge. And I mean, I've seen all my life in that 10 seconds.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And, I could give up and just let it go, but I had to fight for it. I had to fight until I got off the edge and continued.
And the snow, so there were so many different conditions, but I was like, when I saw you riding in the snow, I was like, oh my word.
And not just snow, it's the altitude, being on it was 4,909 meters. Being on high altitude, your brain works maybe 30% or 50% less. So you cannot decide similar to when you are on land, on zero.
Yeah.
So the decision would be affected. The weather conditions. In Tibet, you don't eat what you eat here. I was dying to eat a boiled egg. I was dying to have a cappuccino for 3 months. So, yeah, all of these circumstances would affect your decision. You don't sleep, lack of sleep, you're sleeping in a sleeping bag. I haven't showered for 10 days that day because there's no running water in Tibet. Yeah. So, yeah, all of these will affect the decision.
One of the things that I knew that you were military also, or you'd had a military background, was the way that you had all your kit, your knife and fork, your everything has its place, and it was all nicely packed, and it was because that must be one of your biggest ones. You've got to be well maintained.
Yeah, there are lots of preparation for trips. There are lots of packing and unpacking every day.
Yeah,
changing beds every day. So the more miles I make, the more I learn about when it comes to packing. Now I can pack my stuff in a small box for 6 months. I learned the art of packing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, when I first did the Silk Road, I had lots of stuff with me. A car following me with more stuff. And the more I crossed the Silk Road, the more stuff I was donating and getting rid of.
Oh.
Yeah, until I ended up with 2 panniers. That's it.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah, we did learn a lot of lessons. I would always call motorcycle trips as a leadership academy. How to promote yourself, how to convince, the art of negotiation skills.
Yeah.
Financial,
especially when a gun's pointing at you.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And border crossing in Central Asia needs lots of negotiation skills.
Whoa.
You need to convince them that what you're doing is right. You need to convince them that they are right, but you still need to get in. Because the moment you convince them they are wrong, you could end up in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of these experiences, you've gone from London to Beijing. Now we've had a bit of a flavour of what has gone on within that trip. I wish we had more time to be able to go into more depth. But the one thing you had, if you don't mind me saying, you had your hair was here, your beard was out here, literally.
Yeah.
And the thing that I noticed more was you tried to do a piece to camera, but the emotion got the better of you. What was that like?
Well, when I did the Silk Road, the first week I was shaving every day, and then I was like, I'm on an adventure. I shouldn't live the same life I'm living, the civilized life. I should let it grow as a human.
Yeah.
How we were in the Ice Age, or
yeah.
So I decided not to shave until I reached Beijing. So when I reached Beijing, we had one guy with us who was, his name was Pete Leach. And he wanted to shave me when we reached the Ace Cafe in Beijing. So I said, I promise you, you will be the one who's doing it. And you will see it in the film. So when I reached Beijing, my hair was a big mess. My beard was big. Many people didn't recognize me. And that moment, honestly, that's the best moment of my life, because this is the moment when I found myself, the moment I got off my bike. And I would say it's a victory over the challenge, the people who doubted me, including my friends, family, even my parents thought I'm going to kill myself. So to me, it was like a victory, and I even imagined my grandfather was there. And this is the moment when I was talking and crying. I was tearing up. I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
But that Chinese guy who bumped into the camera and ruined it. But still, I was in full emotion, and I was always wondering how come people cry of happiness. I used to make fun of it because I never had this moment. It was the first time in my life that I tear up of happiness. And that was, the moment that I would never forget.
No.
Well, every time I talk about it, I would never stop talking until a truck runs over me or someone shuts me up.
I must admit that was one of the best parts of the movie for me. And I knew that we were going to run out of time today, but what was it? What's it like with your kids? Are they at an age that they know what you're doing? Are they really proud?
Yeah, my kids. To be honest, they're not happy me being on the bike for disappearing for 6 months. But I had a chat with my daughter, and she said, "Yeah, I'm not happy. I would like to see you coming pick me up from school and take me to school every morning. But this is what you do. I can't imagine you doing something else, and I'm proud of it." And that day when I went to her school to play the film to her classmates, everybody was concentrating on the film, and she was staring at me with a big smile, that proud face, which made me realize, no, I think she's fine. She's proud of it, so I should continue doing it. And maybe she would be learning a lesson on how she chased her dreams one day. Yeah.
It's just a fun, and I knew, I said to you before the show, I said 30 minutes is just not going to be enough.
Exactly.
But one thing that I have got today, the one thing that I know that our listeners are going to be, or our viewers and listeners are going to be taking from this is your story, and it's like at first it was. For me, it's inspiring because I know that I'm listening to you and the effects that you've had on the world. And we haven't covered the business. You said a film studio, you're going to Germany and opening a business there and a restaurant. I said to you, are you crazy starting a restaurant? You've done virtually pole to pole from the North Pole to Argentina. There's just so many things. You're making a difference. You are making a real difference. And honestly, it's been an absolute joy having you on the show today.
It's a pleasure.
And you're going to be an inspiration to everybody because
I hope
for
so.
me, without a shadow of doubt, you're an inspiration for me.
That's good.
Just because of the things we've got to bring people together. That's our roles. That's our
right.
job.
And that's what I do, actually. I've always wanted to be a changer. I've always wanted to be a successful story and an influencer. I don't just want to be a famous guy who's just running on nothing.
You're not. I promise you, you're not. And I love the thing about, because I think when I was a young guy too, I had a little bit of arrogance. And then I went to Cyprus and I met the Cyprus people. And for me, that was life-changing. I was there for 2 years. My eldest son was born there. It was wonderful. And it took that off me, what you just said. It's a magic feeling, and it's like all we've got to do is keep on reaching out to people. That's the biggest gift of all.
That's
the biggest gift of all.
That's right.
Okay, I know that you've got 125,000 followers on Facebook.
That's right. Yeah.
How do people watch your movie, for one? How do they like you? Where do they go?
Well, I'm available on all social media platforms. Sorry. I'm on Facebook. Facebook is the biggest fan base, let's say, because I got 169,000. Sorry.
169.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, whatever updates I post on my social media, on my Facebook, Instagram as second platform.
Yeah.
So people can find me if they just write my name, Khalid Al Jaber,
Yeah.
or Khalid on Facebook, Khalid Al Jaber official.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
they'll find my film. They'll find lots of story coverage of all my trips. I just covered Africa. I just did Africa, Kenya to South Africa last October, and it was beautiful. I strongly recommend everybody to consider Africa as a holiday. Enjoy. The world is just beautiful as long as we don't watch the news.
Good. Yeah, very good.
So I strongly recommend Africa, and you can see a lot of Africa, the beauty of Africa on my social media.
Can you do me one favor?
Sure.
The one promise I'm going to ask you is that you're going to promise to come back on the show, because there's
Definitely.
so much to talk about.
Just give me a call, a WhatsApp message. I'll be here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Everyone, I know you would have enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed this today. You've been an absolute joy and inspirational. And I know that everybody's going to feel that. Keep going, please, because you are changing.
Will.
You are making a huge difference.
Hopefully I will.
Khalid, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Really enjoyed the talk this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you for watching the show. See you next week when we'll have another special guest on the show. Thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.